Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday Voices of the Alternative World. This is July 19th, and we had a full moon today, and wow, the energies are really powerful. The full moon happened just about a couple hours ago, actually, and listening to last night's show, Diamond Show, there was a lot of information, good information given on the astrology. Of course, we all know the sun is in Cancer and the moon is in Capricorn, and they're opposite each other. And one of the things that's very awesome about all this is that it pointed towards, this is all pointing towards music, because they were, music of the spheres was mentioned in terms of where the sun is right now, and also angels of acoustics in Capricorn. So it was said that when one is spiritually attuned enough of a higher vibration, one can actually hear the music of the spheres. And I was reading an article that Tesla actually said that he heard the music of the spheres almost all the time. So anyway, this is the intro, and this is the show number 465, the reference number 465. And if anyone wants to listen to the replay later, the number is 641-715-3813, access code 883267#. All right, so we are going to invoke the law of one, and we're going to call in all the heavenly muses and musicians and the heavenly spheres and from the earth. So we need a lot of healing for our planet right now, and for everything that's been going on in our country and our world, and the chaos has been stirred up, and we wish to send out the healing vibrations and law of one to all of these situations here that are becoming really polarized right now. So, with that being said, we are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, I ask that only that which is of the highest good of all happen here and now. And I give thanks that it be done, and so it is. So be it. Blessings. All right. So, Dale, do you have some introductory words you'd like to share?
I just want to say hi to Joan.
Oh, hi, Joan.
And Peter's here, too.
Oh, hi, Peter. Great.
Hello.
Well, I think it's important with all these shows to we have to develop a Socratic method in our reasoning processes and arrive at universal truths that everybody understands, and that has to do with all aspects of spirituality as well as the material world. And so I think a good analogy is gravity, because it's a force that everybody understands and nobody argues with, and it can be demonstrated in the real world. And I think what the same standard has to be applied to spiritual understanding. with the clear knowledge that there are some people who have spiritual gifts that not everybody shares. So now, and you would say, well, that perception, that spiritual perception, is much like the analogy in the Bible that says, "He in the valley of the blind who has one eye is king." But the responsibility becomes inherent in the idea that if you do understand something that the vast majority don't, it's incumbent on you to make understandable to those who don't understand. And this, in our program, in the tribal cultures, the traditional tribal cultures, it was automatically understood that the shamans, the people who had the spiritual gifts, were called upon for guidance. But in our culture, it's not that way. The spiritual component of our existence is subjugated for the expedient, and consequently we have all the difficulties in our lives that we have. So where this program is concerned, I think we're going to be called to a higher standard, and if we're going to be universally accepted, then we're going to have that dialogue where those people who are spiritually attuned can express and explain themselves in comprehensible terms. And I think that's just part of the program, because if you just enter an exchange and a dialogue and just assume that everybody that's listening understands what you're talking about, that's going to be a serious error, and it's going to defeat the purpose of educating people. So through this educational process, when we invoke these spiritual elements, I think we're going to have to be comprehensive in our explanation of spiritual things to people, just like everything else. And it's laborious. It takes a lot of minutiae, it takes a lot of time and effort. But if we don't set that foundation clear, we're going to have nothing but conflict in the conversation.
We do need to be in our hearts, of course. We need to be in the feeling and the emotional realm that, which really is what unites us all. And opening the hearts of, it really is an awakening. That's what I see it as, an awakening. So if we can reach people on that level, then we can be synced in. But, we can all be synced in to the expanded heart and expanded consciousness that's rising right now. That's just how I feel. We're out of the mental realm where we see visions and arguments and contradictions and things like that.
Yeah, well, there's never any controversy among those people who have understanding. The difficulty that we're faced with is unfolding the world around us to this spiritual component, and that's where we have to be very careful with our words. And I'm referring to the WASPI, and one of the criteria. One of the criterias of the Book of WASPI is that in order for you to be fully a faithist in understanding, is you have to make your understanding comprehensible to others, and that's the power of unfoldment or gentle persuasion, and which means that because if you can't make what you understand and know comprehensible to those around you who don't, then it's of no practical value. And the likelihood that there's going to be any growth is remote. So
can I add a couple little things while you guys are talking about it? Really great conversation just to set forth in the Diamonds Network. This is Elizabeth Diamond, by the way. And I want to just encourage everybody, yes, because I have a big dream, and we have a big dream together. It's not just going to be USA. It's going to be worldwide and go out from this Earth to other planets in this universe and other planets. I know, all things are possible, though, you guys. So keep your hearts. And the biggest thing, too, it's good, it's good to have a conversation, but this is good practice for all of us, especially on the radio. We can agree to disagree. So the practice is erasing the programming from ourselves as we do the radio and go through this journey in evolution. So if we come to a point where we can agree to disagree on things and have peace inside of us, so we all have to practice, that's okay, too. Because, we can show forth the action that a group of people, we're all on the same heartbeat, so to speak. And sometimes they'll see us disagree to agree, and we're all still friends and laughing, having fun. We don't have to get in arguments. We just disagree to agree. And both the people that disagree to agree take both those points and sink them in their heart, twirl them in their heart, or whatever. It's all okay because like looking at a tree, everybody has a different perception of that tree. And all those perceptions are all good, even if it's a negative perception. So I just want to add that. So, yeah, you guys keep doing a good job, all of you.
All right.
Here's and I'll leave the final quote with Plato, and his definition and how important he felt that music was, and here's what he said, and it's nice because the focus is on children, and Plato said, I would teach children music, physics, and philosophy, but most importantly, music. For the patterns in music and all the arts are the keys to learning. So I think that's a good place to start the program.
Well, that sounds really good because that's a great way to get children on this vibration level, to make sure that they have music of quality, and then this doesn't have to be just classical music but music that has uplifting qualities to it, that's harmonious. I know I wrote something in the 80s, and it's about music and consciousness, and I thought it might be a good idea to read this. And if it gets boring to anybody, I'll stop, but it's not that long. But since I wrote it in the 80s, I thought it might be a good thing to share, that it's really relevant to right now and to what our program is. As I've been really thinking a lot about how the effect of music has on us as we're growing, we're young and then we get older, and, but what inspired me back then still inspires me. It's not like, I just like this heavy-duty rock and roll, and now I like something else. I always like the more mellow, the conscious, but still the pop music that evolved through these times. Anyway, I'm going to start reading this now and see if you all resonate with it, and if you don't, I'll be glad to stop. It was written in the mid-'80s, and I believe I was on Maui when I wrote this. A lot can be said about how music affects one's state of being and also represents the consciousness of the times. The simple rock and roll of the 50s represented the first wave of anarchistic energy, cutting loose, expressing sexual energy, being freer than the, quote, square parents, rebellion, rebel, I have in quotes, rebel without a cause. With every surge of energy breaking through, there is always both sides, the positive and the negative. The energy and expression which rock and roll represented was neither good nor bad. It was raw energy, and it brought out whatever was being suppressed and wanted to burst into expression. Music is expression. Music is feeling. Music is energy. Music is a powerful healing force which can unite the minds and feelings of masses of people. The music of the late 60s in particular had many important words of truth spoken in the lyrics, to say nothing of the sounds that were produced through the free expression bursting forth at this time. The Moody Blues and Pink Floyd brought expansion of consciousness. Pink Floyd's music contained words from the I Ching, the pentagram, Return the Turning Point. I have this down here. It was a song that contained those words. Country Joe and the Fish made some important political statements as well as their haunting and sensitive psychedelic dream riffs. And then there were Jefferson Airplane and Starship, the Beatles, Chorus, and the Stones, Donovan, to name just a few. Many of our lives have been changed. Our souls have been deeply moved by the music of some of these artists and groups. Our lives have had a musical score as a giant cosmic musical movie spanning decades. Those of us around 40 now, well, this is in the 80s, I was 40 then, or late 30s, written in the 80s, grew up in the 50s. Our lives have had a musical score. Oh, I just read that. Written in the 50s, grew up to Elvis, Buddy Holly, Frankie Avalon, the Everly Brothers, etc. Most of us lived in a world of dates, drive-in movies, high school record hops, quote, parking, etc. We felt the surge of something changing, an energy that wanted to break through the boundaries of the taboos of society and our parents. We sought freer sexual expression and allowed our dancing to become less structured, and rebelled with our ways of dressing and hair length. We questioned the morals that had been forced on us by society, yet being sensitive was not yet cool. In the 50s, you were either a punk or a wimp, basically, but we were feeling change in the air. Then the whole structure of society and morality got shaken to the core as we lived through Dylan, Joan Baez, Arlo Guthrie, and also Peter, Paul, and Mary, the Mamas and the Papas. Simon and Garfunkel had important messages for us, not in the least to be underestimated. And I will add on that note that when I lived in Boston, I heard Simon and Garfunkel in person, and I was really into them at the time. They really spoke to me at that time. The Beatles and the Stones were milestones, and other previously mentioned supergroups of the psychedelic era marked a real turning point in values, expanded awareness. Political protest music underscored how our awareness showed us that peace does not come about through dropping bombs. In the mid-'70s, we experienced the oncoming disco fad and the new wave in punk, and we got groups like the Police, the Cars, the Sex Pistols, Kiss, Boy George, Eurythmics, and Blondie. Punk arose largely out of England, an area with a history of much restriction and social codes and being proper, etc. It's not surprising that such bizarre expression would come from there in the youth of late 70s and 80s, a rebellion against the structure and propriety. It seemed to be quite a turnaround from the natural movement that rose from the hippie era, which focused on living a healthy lifestyle close to nature, wearing little or no makeup, letting one's hair grow long, and giving up unhealthy habits and substances. To the contrary, the punk movement encouraged very bizarre looks, makeup, dyed hair to the max, ghastly skin, unnatural colors on the hair and skin, city life in the fast lane, drugs, alcohol, violence, and unnatural sex. Take it to the limit. Do it all today, for tomorrow the earth may be blown to smithereens in a nuclear holocaust. We felt that a lot of the young people were in that space, and that's why they were expressing themselves that way. Are we being typical elders now, saying, what's the matter with kids today? As our parents said when we were letting our hair grow long and dropping out of society because we didn't believe in war and becoming a cog in the big wheel? Are we being naive or old-fashioned if we still hold to the ideals of building a peaceful planet where love, beauty, and harmony prevails? I'm almost done. So we are not judging or putting down the music of today, meaning the 80s music. A lot of the new wave music has a lot going for it and makes many statements on all sides of what's going on. Some of it represents another purge of the astral emotional plane, which is like the spare tire around this planet's solar plexus. And this is neither good nor bad, but merely what happens when powerful energies get released. We experience it on a personal and a planetary level. And now we have still a new wave of soothing, healing, New Age, quote, classical environmental music. It's not played on the radio much, nor in discos. It's not in the top 40, but it's discovered by those who are on its frequency or would like to be. Tune in further and read this. Oh, this is not relevant. I will leave that sentence out. That is the end of that writing. And I just thought about Dick Darnell, who plays that type of music, the New Age music, with a Native American kind of woven in, and references to some of the Owaspy, in there. So he's a friend of ours and very special. We'd like to get him on here sometime. I know he's a busy person, busy guy, but just to share his inspiration. Anyway, that's what I had to share, and it's just what this is what my reflections at the time, and that's I still feel this way now, about all of that. And recently had I've had a stack of vinyl that I couldn't play because my turntable broke down, and I've now been able to play it again. So I've been really going through a lot of the old records that I've had, and getting quite, just inspired, because I have some good stuff that I wasn't been able to play for a while. And today, just going through a lot of the music, and I'd like to share more of the music. When we get better sound quality, we'll do that. So, and I will pause now if anybody wants to say anything about what I read, or any feedback.
Sonny, I would like to, before you open to the audience, I'd just like to interject a few thoughts and realize people that the progression of nonviolence is marching forward into the it's exhibited in today's world and into the future. And I just if you looked at the political confrontations that we've witnessed in our lifetimes, and you see the confrontation in the Philippines where the nuns got out in front of the tanks and said, we're not going to allow you to slaughter the citizens, and you look at Nelson Mandela and Bishop Tutu, and there was another opportunity for a political bloodbath. Then they resolved, and they're going through a healing process, and there's a lot of injury and a lot of history, but nevertheless they're struggling to live according to their higher angels. And right now, within the last 8 years, we look at the Arab Spring. Look at how Mubarak was deposed, a tyrannical dictator, brutal, and without thousands and thousands of people being killed. And you could even say the Iranian Revolution, for all intents and purposes, although there were a lot of people killed, it wasn't as brutal as it could have been. It's like some of the overthrows of governments and coups that took place in South America and Argentina, and then right today in our very city, we had the riots of '93, where just a guilty verdict turned the whole city of Los Angeles into a firestorm, and for 3 days. And now, with the advent of the police taking the law into their hands and being judge, jury, and executioner, and killing a number of black kids, and the response in the black community is not violence. They want to end the violence. And some people were suffering from all kinds of mental problems, and there was these shootings by former Marines that just snapped because everybody was talking about, we got to stop the police shootings, we got to stop the police shootings, we got to stop the police shootings, and and again in reference to WASPI, that the creators, the positive and the negative, and so I think there's a very measured spiritual response from the unseen world that is just gently herding us into a more peaceful direction. And I think we're more, when I say evidence of positive spirituality, I think that, and even in the Republican convention, they had all kinds of forecasts about how the potential for violence. The police chief was even advocating arming all the participants in the convention just so they could protect themselves, and the crowds have been relatively calm and cool, and in a rather raucous environment. So I think, Sonny, that all of the things of the past have been growing over time, and you look at the blossoming and explosion and exponential growth of the vegan community and the adoption of sustainable energy. And there's a little hiccup now with this instability in the European Union, but basically the people are really embracing a higher understanding and higher ideals, and the evolution. I've even noticed recently, the past few days and weeks, that there's a resonance in the dialogue that the overwhelming desire is to go forward in nonviolence, and as much as some of the rhetoric is really a little wild, the reality is that the goodness is gaining the upper hand, and so that's I see a lot of positive indication that the best is yet to come.
Well, I see that too. I really do, in spite of everything that's been going on in the past week or so, in the killings, the shootings, and I've been thinking about that a lot and sending prayers of love to everybody involved, the police and the black people. And a friend of mine did mention that she believes that the Black Lives Matter movement are terrorists. I don't believe that they are all terrorists. There's just certain groups that are intent on, they want to kill the cops, and they're going around chanting things like that. So if these things are true, then we just need to send light and love and law of one prayers. That's what I've been doing. And,
comment.
Yes.
I want to comment. First of all, since you guys are on this, what you're talking about, today I went to the store and I kind of thought of myself. I thought of the Mandela effect. I bought Bragg's vinegar, and it used to be an S. It's BRAGG now in a jar. But I went to the gas station to I didn't want to buy a pop. I wanted something cold to drink. But I noticed more and more every week, there's more natural stuff, natural foods, and even gas stations. I got a natural aloe vera drink in a bottle, flavored. So there's tons of natural ones in there. There's more selection. So that's going, consciousness is changing even in the government, the people that are working in the government, even the people that are working in the corporations, even the people that are working in the gas station. I was thinking, going out of the gas station, okay, is this people in the community saying we want more natural stuff? Or, we're depending on that. But I kept thinking, and I came to the conclusion, no, it's the people in the higher ups in the corporation of Holiday Gas Station. Their consciousness is changing, and they want to put out better things in there. Anyway, that's an example. But I loved your reading, Sonny. That was awesome.
Oh,
and
good.
What you said at the last thing is, raise your vibrations or whatever and go to the music. So I just want to encourage everybody, as they're listening to this music show and about music, and there's all kinds of music, don't think so hard. Which kind of music should I listen to? Here's the maximum efficiency, minimum effort way, wrapped in supreme happiness. Ask God, ask your guides, ask the angels to help you stumble onto the music that matches your vibration, not even matches your vibration, that's a little bit higher than your vibration now, so you can attune up to that height and do it with music. So, because I'm finding myself in, I don't know, I call it high magic, I don't know. Mm-hmm. You know, when I'm thinking of something, when I get an inspiration and a vision, I go about my merry way during the day, and I stumble onto things of what I've been thinking of, or an idea to add to the idea, the same kind of wave of thinking I was on. Anyway, music. I love music.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, I've been sharing.
I really appreciated your.
Oh, thank you, Peter.
Your poem, and I think philosophy talks about that music is a very important thing. Talking about some of the starships that are moved by music, dance, all this kind of thing, and I have found that when you listen to different musics of different peoples, you get the feeling, the cultural feeling of those people, and you can blend with different people better by kind of getting into their music. And
that's good.
And
yes, absolutely.
The philosophy also talks about how music is second highest to the priesthood. It is bringing those celestial vibrations and that math, as it says, music is living mathematics. So it's bringing the unquantitative into a quantitative state that moves the soul, not just the intellect. So I think it's really. And I think I had mentioned this once before when I was at Molina. When we were at Molina and we had all the power go out. It might have been I don't think it was last week. It would have had to have been the week before or something like that. I had mentioned when that power was out and people were asleep, I heard this music and it came from everywhere, nowhere, and it was so lilting that very possibly, because there weren't any houses around, there's nowhere where it could have been coming from, that I was being blessed with hearing something celestial. But it was,
that's wonderful.
I couldn't find where it was coming from, and when I would go to a different place, it would be coming from another place, but yet it wasn't any place.
You heard the music of the spheres, the celestial music.
Yeah, it was. I mean, at first it was kind of spooky. I was like, "What's going on?"
It was probably in your head. In your head was your music. You had a music turntable in your head.
Well, it was in part in my head, but it was also around, coming through the ether.
Yeah, coming in, broadcasting in from the higher realms, so to speak. Yeah, that's what we talked about last night, and that children can often hear this, that they probably don't know how to talk about it with their parents, but very highly attuned individuals can hear this music of the spheres, which is really in line with the celestial energies right now. Yeah, that's wonderful, Peter. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
It kind of brought me back to different times.
Yeah.
I was more into R&B and jazz and classical, but same kind of deal. And there was, they may still be around, they're called the Jazz Crusaders, and they had some really bouncy stuff. And I used to think of, when they talk about the buoyancy of some of the starships and the spurring, the screws of fire going around, it was like, I found it very exalting. So we can find exaltation in all kinds of music.
Oh, yes. Well, I feel like we just naturally are drawn to what that matches our vibration, our soul energy. And it just came to my mind and heart that Merle Fankhauser, my friend, he's done lots of different styles of music, but he does do this instrumental guitar and other instruments coming in. It can be very, let's say, spacey, but celestial, and both of the celestial spheres and the ocean, the water, because he does this surf thing. He kind of combines it together. And that's very, I find that. And then he did this album about the sounds that came from the under Malibu off the coast, or portals down there, and our Christopher Stephen Jacobs talked about that, and when we shared that with him, that there really was a portal down there, and so he used these sounds and wove them into his music, and a couple of tracks on this Signals from Malibu CD, which I could attempt to play and see if we can get a good sound coming through. But he will be on the show again one of these days. I asked him if he could be on tonight, but he had another engagement. He couldn't.
Sonny, what you were saying about the water and the celestial things, that again from not just Owaski, but other spiritual works, the similarity of the ether to the water, and talking the ships flying in the ether or in the atmosphere like they would on the water. So I think there's an analogy there because of the fluidity of water.
Oh, very much, yeah.
That's really very interesting to contemplate on that.
Yes, it goes together very well. He was one of the innovators of surf music, but then he took that to another level with the celestial, because he, of course, he's always been drawn to UFO, that kind of thing, the UFOs, and then he told me about how that came through him so naturally to just the sounds. He just heard them in his head, and then he transposed them into the music.
Well, like in that statement, our souls are in the ocean of the Creator.
Oh yes, it's a vast ocean. For sure.
It's just interesting to me when we kind of contemplate that.
Well,
and then we can't. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
We're talking about music. We can't forget about the part that we, our individual selves, can create music ourselves with our voice, with instruments, and we can't forget with music. There's instruments that are mainstream out there, but there's all thousands of different instruments that we don't know that we can, create with different sounds and music. I mean, that's limitless. And talking about the water and Dr. what's his name? Doctor that did the experiments with the water. What's his name?
Merle Sankhauser.
Emoto. Dr. Emoto.
Emoto. Oh, okay, yeah.
Where you put the word love on water and it turned into a pretty crystal when you microscope the water. And so with that concept, here's my wacky thinking nowadays. You talk about water, okay, build a glass stage in the middle of water somewhere out a little further where people are there and they swim and play in the water and people can hear and they're swimming, but they'll get electrified by the energy of the music inside of themselves. And you guys keep creating like the little children you are. There's so many creations, and there's limitless creations I'm finding. And then there's so many they're hard to choose from. I guess we could do them all, and that'll be fun. Just we won't do them in the business kind of way where you got to, somehow, some way. We're not going to do it in the business kind of way where you got to work. I mean, the business CEO and all that stuff. But somehow, some way, it's going to be built, and we're going to have fun building it and enjoying it. And make sure you tell your heart all the time, have fun and enjoy while you're building and creating it, and enjoy your creation, right?
Yes, that's how it should be. It's just a pouring forth of inspiration from our souls and our hearts. Yeah, that's wonderful. I just reminded me of something that I did last night when I was meditating. And I was thinking about the toning that Cynthia talked about last night, and which I've done before. I was looking at these symbols. The one was the Owaski symbol with the cross and the circle and the leaf inside, and then there was the double tetrahedron, the Merkava, which both of those I have up when I meditate because they both mean a lot to me. And I started toning, making sounds that just kind of vibrated off of those symbols one at a time. You know, it's just the natural thing to do. You know, so that was an interesting experience. You know, part of sacred geometry and sound. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, the thing that I'm looking for is a change in our speech, where we communicate with each other will be more in harmony, and our speech will become like music. Without, you know, as we become a more evolved spiritually, the tone and quality of our speech is going to also change.
Oh, I can accord with that. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that because I got a big mouth sometimes.
All right. Well, it's self-expression has been something that's been, well, you know, soul expression. I'd rather call it soul expression. It's been important to me, and that's why I welcome this opportunity to have this forum to share on, because I haven't really had my voice heard that much throughout my lifetime. But it's, you know, I want it to be universal. You know, it's not just me, but we all have what our souls want to share. You know, and we're just bursting with that, and we want to share who we are, and then it becomes united. You know, as we come from that place of balance and harmony and synchronicity, synthesis. That was the word I was looking for. Yeah, not polarizing, the synthesis.
You know, it's funny, but with my little 1-year-old daughter, Carissa, you know, there'll be, you know, we'll be having a conversation as a group around her, and then all of a sudden, I'll say something at a certain pitch, at a certain tone, and with that I have an intent to communicate something, and not forcefully, just my voice will and her head will spin around, and focus on me like with just really intense interest, you know. And I said, well, and that was a teaching moment to me, that if I was able to control that and control the content, that there was an intense concentration, and what I was communicating at that particular point in time really was received, and it was received with, you know, like, wow, I've got to listen to this because it's really important. And, you know, so
give more specifics of that, Dale. Okay, so like, what would you want to try to get over out? Give an example of how you formed the intention.
It wasn't necessarily. I can't get into the specifics what I was talking about, but what it really you know, it may have been for different subjects at different times, but the intent of my voice was what I was trying to communicate to either my wife or the kids around me. That was, and I wasn't shouting. I was just saying, you know, well, this has some gravitas, and you guys have to pay attention to this, you know, because
so it's like your confidence inside yourself, confidence of intent inside yourself before even words came out. That you know, of a pure, you wanted to get a point across.
Yeah, this specific piece of information is something that we really have to pay attention to, and even that little girl, you know, and the kids didn't jerk their heads around, but they were listening, but when it went into that vibration, bang, her head spun around and said, wow, I have to listen to this. You know, like she had the consciousness of that vibration being one that was important to her and everybody else, and not, you know, and it was just when that voice is given to anybody, it's like that particular vibration is an authority, you know, where there's clarity of intent and you know what the content was clear and universal and something that we all must understand,
that's very wise, Dale. You know, we hear radio people or people on the TV that have that kind of attention to them, which is, you know, everybody's experienced it, and so now we can thank you for that nugget of wisdom, Dale. So we can put the same intention as we're making music, as we're listening to music, as we're playing music for other people, and to the shows, anything you're doing, right? To anything you're doing.
It's finding that not just a voice, but the highest voice that has the clearest note and communicates the best. You know, I've heard
Andrew Bartzis talk about this, and he's known as the Galactic Historian, and Christopher Stephen Jacobs I dub as the Galactizing Historian. And anyway, he hears. He's like, you know how people are the music. The music's inside of them, like Prince. We talked about him, and others, Beatles and Elvis and all that. But he has other. I mean, the Akashic records, everything, all thoughts and every experience of everybody, he can see and experience in more detail if he focuses in. So what he says, he has to be careful of how he talks, because he wants his language, and it's like a quantum physics things unseen in your voice. He can talk words to hit a bigger audience, because everybody's a different perception, was raised differently, has different programming on them. So that makes sense, and this is good to have brought that out too, for music, for anything in anybody's life, personally or in groups.
And it's really it can be hypnotic, you know. It's like a chant when a note is struck, and everybody or a conductor that tunes the orchestra to a note and gets that unanimity and that harmony. And
guess what, Dale? Guess what? You gave me something to run with, and I hope everybody else runs with it, because it's simple to get, you guys. If you believe, and even if you don't believe, just pray the law of one for your voice to be in what we're talking about now, and see what happens. But believe it first and have confidence, and then get surprised what happens through you.
Sounds good.
To all of us, and that's really that attunement, that spiritual attunement to each other and our surroundings is where all this harmony is going to come from.
We each have our note and our notes that are in our souls, and the unique way of sharing and expressing it. When it was talked about the different cultures, I was reminded that we just had in my area here, we just had the World Fest, and there were quite a few different musicians from different cultures there. And it was really true that when we listen to music from different cultures, it really does key us into where they're coming from, their souls. You know, so I just was reminded of that, because we just had that this past weekend. Our area was broadcast on the local radio station, KVMR. And I'd sure like to be able to play music like on the radio and have it come through really clearly, because there's so much.
I'm working on that, Sonny. I dropped the ball. I was going to work on that all month, so we were ready for this program. but life has this way of interfering. But I'm going to make my business to come up with the some kind of a hardware configuration where we can actually start playing music on the conference call and have it come in clearly.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, I'm not sure I understand how it would work, but we can figure that one out. And I would still like to play. And when we talked about the celestial and the waves and all, I'd like to play some of this and just see how it goes with Merle's music here of Signals from Malibu. So I'd like to try that.
Okay.
Now, so after I let my cat out, because he's going to make noise. And just, there we go. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna mute, so we don't get any.
Okay. Start. This is my little CD player. Now it's spinning around. I'm going to ask now how that sounded to everyone. I just faded it down a little bit.
Well, one thing, when I cut the speakerphone off and muted the phone, and I had one clear speaker, it was fun, great. I got it, you know.
Oh, well, great. Yeah.
It sounded good to me.
Good. Well, it's still on, but it's down. It's lower down now, but yeah.
It did better than I thought it would. So it came out
wonderful. Well, that's great to hear. Yeah, because it sounded good to me. I just didn't want it to be too loud that it would make the distortion.
It's a work in progress, Sonny, but we'll get there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, folks, please feel free to step in and make some comments or questions or anything. The floor is open.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, it said nobody seems to be jumping in. I was going to call upon you as a spiritual guide to maybe perhaps say a prayer in closing the show up.
Well, I was just going to would say, I think on the sound here, it depends on the equipment too, the angle of the phone. I mean, there's a lot of things, but I think, Sonny, the way you, whatever angle you had it at, it was pretty clear. It didn't have too much of a tinny sound like you get. You ever hear someone playing music on their head, it's coming through their headphones, and it really doesn't sound good, even though I know the tune would sound really good if I had the headphones on. But this sounded pretty good.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that. Yeah, I just felt inspired to play that.
It was clear, and it didn't sound, like distorted where you can't really make fully the notes out. So I think that was good. But I think just on the closing here, that we really take some time to really meditate on the music. And a long time ago on one of the conference calls that we were having a long time when Candy had it before it was the Diamond Network, I have talking about a book, metaphysical book I had, where it gives the letter values to the musical notes. And what came to me when you were talking was going that picture of Spielberg's, which was Strange Encounter of a Third Kind, when you saw the ships and the people on Earth doing the musical engagement to be able to kind of lock into each other. I guess most of you remember that film, right?
I perceive that as actually talking and music knowledge.
Well, they talk about that too. When people see people really do, real African drumming, they're not just drumming. There's conversation going on between these people, and this is what was going on in that movie. And for me, from the Owaski point of view, when it was going, it was almost like E-O-I, E-O-I, E-O-I. So that kind of flipped me out when I heard that. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And whether they meant that or not.
Peter, I really think that part of this communication with the unseen world, what's not making it go faster and further and more extensive is the fact that music is going to the musicality is going to be a big component of that communication.
Oh, it most definitely. Even going into the Christian thing, when they talk about St. Peter and the keys to the gate. Keys, we're talking harmonics. The vibrational rates, the ability to open up things from different sound and musical vibrations.
No, they really are keys. I really feel that, believe that.
Oh, when you're on the piano, what are you doing? You're on the keyboard.
Yeah. Keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically, we're speaking of frequencies. The frequencies that we can't hear, but that still affect us. It's an electromagnetic vibration, and that we've got a lot to learn about that aspect of sound and music.
Well, just something just struck me now, and of course it may be totally off the wall, but we say music as music, but the first two letters, if we go back in time for one of the names of Pan, was Mu, so Muzak.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, that's the lost continent. That's what Merle is so attuned to, Hawaii. Hawaii was the remnants of that continent.
And this syncopatic rhythm that began, it begins with the heartbeat, and it starts in an individual's life in the womb when you say, well, that's really the first sign of life, is that heartbeat, and all the the early instruments, the early music is all based on a rhythmic pattern.
Yeah, well, Native American, the heartbeat. The drum is that heartbeat. You go to Native rituals, and it's always talking about the drum, and that particular drum is pretty much the heart. The most typical Native American drumming is the heart drum.
And the astrological rhythm of the planets dancing and rotating at a specific point in time. And it's this motion, that with the all voice creates this all motion, and the universe is and was and ever shall be without beginning or end. And
in the night that I was on, when we were talking earlier, not last week, but the other night, the four components of perfecting is that we to perfect our life, motion, individuality, and person. So motion is a very important key part, very connected to life and our individuality.
Mm-hmm. Well, water is emotion.
Yeah.
And also emotion.
Right.
Yeah. And flowing emotions.
Well, this musical portion of our broadcast is growing, and I'm looking forward to more. And so, having said that, everyone, it's that time of the night, in the evening, and the broadcast is coming to a close. And Peter, I don't want to put this on. Or do you feel inspired to give us a blessing?
No, I don't have a. No, it's cool. All right, if everybody will just center. Excuse me, wait a minute. Would everyone just center themselves, put themselves at ease, let yourself drift back further into your mind and to the back of your head or to the middle of your being. O Creator, thou great Spirit, thou all-person, thou all-perfect instrument, help us to be attuned to Thee, O thou Almighty. Help us to find the right frequency in ourselves so that we are in harmony and not in disharmony. May our motion be one with Thy all-motion. Carry us into attunement with Thee and each other. Help us as a note and a sound and even part of Thy symphony. Help to calm and soften the hurt of Mother Earth. Bring peace in us in such a way that we can manifest peace from within us outward to all those around us. Amen.
Amen.
Well, that was a great program, and I enjoyed everybody's participation. And we'll see you next week when the focus is going to be on health and wellness. At the same time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So,
what is that subject?
Health and wellness.
Okay.
And all things in the universe affecting our health and wellness, and so each one of these programs. Yeah.
I have a suggestion for you guys. You have the four special shows, whatever subject it's on, like music, health and wellness, the vegan thing, whatever you guys are talking about. Or just, take the big subjects of the world, government, music, food, farming, and all those subjects, and pick one of the subjects each week. You can come up with like a short list. Pick one of the subjects each Tuesday, and go on the internet and find the biggest change in that department you can find and bring that on. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I had a piece on musical therapy tonight. If the thing started to slow down, but that's exactly what I do, Elizabeth. I have a backup plan and I mean, Sonny had a real good format, so that's why I introduced the Plato stuff with children and music, and more important than anything to teach the kids was to get them in syncopation with their surroundings by being in harmony and teaching them music. So there's always I always do that for both the first week of spirituality, the second of architecture, today of music, and also I've got some ideas about health and wellness. Some ideas to bring in. So I'm always thinking about that, always.
Yes, that's really great. And music is certainly, none of these are isolated topics because, as we well know, music is very healing. So everything is kind of interwoven. Of course, spirituality it covers everything. Covers music, covers healing. And there's a special person I'm going to meet this coming weekend. I'm going to see if she will be on next Tuesday. I won't say too much more about it until I talk to her some more, but she could be very appropriate, for this next Tuesday show.
Well, listen, everyone, have a good evening and have a great week, and we'll rejoin our effort next Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here.
Take care. Blessings.
All the contributions. Really rewarding. Much blessings.
Are you looking for healing or a change in your life to help you enjoy it more fully? You might benefit from a galactic energy reading and clearing from Chris Jacobs. Chris will work with you on a soul level to clear unseen negative influences, implants, programs, contracts, and energetic blocks. Chris Jacobs is a gifted energy healer. Contact him today at ChristopherStephenJacobs@gmail.com.